Yo, what's up guys, Aiden here. So today in this video, I'd like to share with you the three different tickers that I traded on Friday. Each of them set up completely differently and I nailed the entries on them to be fair, but my mentality was completely wrong and I was trading profits over process and sold way too soon due to scared trading. So let's have a look at some charts and I'll show you exactly what I mean. So guys, just before we have a look at some charts, I'd like to walk you through what happened to me on Friday on a psychological level, which led me to trading so scared. So when I sat down at the market first thing in the morning, there wasn't anything on the scanner that I recognized. I felt as though there was nothing for me there to trade. And so I kind of like went away, made some tea, came back, and before I knew it, just like impulsively, I had tried to force a trade on like a D setup and it ended up like $50 down. And then ended up taking it again, trying to make that $50 back. I was completely trading profits over process. And before I knew it, I found myself $250 down. Now, my account can handle that, but it is sort of an absolute waste. And it did put me on tilt. I was tilted at that point. So I kind of had a word with myself. I could see I still had that impulse to chase, but I kind of just sat back and watched and waited to see if something set up. And it did. Three tickers, surprisingly out of nowhere, set up perfectly and I managed to get awesome entries on them. However, because I was down $250 on the day and my mentality was completely on profits over process, which, as I'm sure you're aware, is the absolute opposite of what you should have. My sort of initiative, my goal was just to make the money back rather than to let the trade play out. So as traders, as I'm sure you're aware, what we need to be doing is taking every trade individually. Regardless of what we did yesterday or what we did 2 minutes ago, this trade, look at it with fresh eyes. What's the risk reward? Is it worth putting risk on? What's my profit level? What's my stop loss? That's the process we need to follow and let the profits come as a result of that. However, like I say, in this instance, I'm completely tilted and just my eyes are solely focused on making my money back and also completely fearful that there'll be slippage and I'll lose and then I'll all of a sudden be down 300 or 400 in the day. So in actuality, as you're going to see in a moment, the trade offered really great range to the upside, but I didn't capitalize upon it simply because I was trading scared. Let's jump into these charts and I'll show you exactly what I mean. All right, cool. So just before we check out those three tickers on that I mentioned in the introduction, I've just made $440 trading MNPR as a first green day. So just as a bit of improv, let me jump into this and show you exactly how I've traded this. So by now, I'm sure some of you, if I've traded on this day, you'll know what this particular setup is. It's called a first green day / first green day bounce. If you don't know what this is, please go and watch the video I've linked in the description below before watching this. It will give you a lot more understanding about exactly what I'm looking for here. But basically, if I miss the initial run up when it's had an explosive move, preferably multiple days, then I'm looking for a retracement and a bounce, and that bounce is called the first green day. Now, I did have a trade on it on this day, but it was super scared trading. And yeah, I think I made like $20, $50, I don't know. I've seen this kind of action so often where it has this huge parabolic move and then forms a base. Normally, I say normally, often it's just a double bottom and then it bounces and retests former highs. So I got in, I think, where did I get in? $23 I bought. Where was it? Somewhere. I should have been risking off like VWAP, I guess. But I didn't. I just sold too soon and then had to watch it go without me. And then the day after, this being Friday, it has this big retracement. I think it finished the day down 40 something percent. Let's have a look here. 48%, so almost 50% down it finished. So what I noticed when I came to the market this morning, pre-market, I sort of drew these trend lines on and could see that it was moving in this channel. So given that it had such a huge retracement, if it was down like 10, 20%, on this day. I wouldn't have been interested. It hadn't retraced enough, because this was like a 600% move, 700%, 800% move, something crazy. So I want a significant retracement. 50% in a day is significant. There is therefore a chance it can bounce. So what I noticed when it was moving in this channel, you know, the possibility, if you can see here, when it broke this channel, that would have been the perfect entry, as for me at least, and that's where it ran. Now, even though I drew on this TA on, I doubted it. I lacked conviction, and I missed that and ended up chasing it up here and then selling a bit here and just selling the rest for a loss. And before I knew it, you know, that's a terrible entry up there, because am I going to hold through that, like a almost 20% pullback to lower day? I'm not. So, you know, I'm having to risk off random levels and complete sort of FOMO trade, to be honest. So I ended up like when I cut this, excuse me, it ended up being $170 down, which isn't cool, isn't great. Like, just given that it was, you know, I can put risk on of $170, but if I'm chasing something and then cutting at random levels, it's not ideal. So what I did do well, though, I managed to gather my composure and I re-entered here at 15.49, and then I did have a decent risk level, could risk off sort of low of day, which is 1460. So when this held and had a pullback here, I entered. Now, I'm really pleased that I did that, because this was FOMO getting in here, and then when it started to do this, I started to go, oh, it's not going to work, it's going to fail. But then, you know, it's the exact opposite of what I should be thinking, and I sort of gathered my composure and realized that often when I see these stocks pushing for a first green day, if they don't have this explosive move which doesn't look back, often what they do is retrace the move, hold the lower day, and then have the second leg up, which it did. So yeah, like I say, I was able to sort of gather my composure and recognize that is not only a possibility, it is, you know, perhaps even probable, and it's given me the good risk reward rather than chasing it. You know, it's already shown that it's got strength. Okay, so in regards to sales, I did pretty well. I sold I'd say a third of it here, and I made back the $170. It's either a third of it here, and then I just sold the rest all the way up, my best sell being 2170. And then I could see here, I was hoping it could retest like this 24 level or this 26 level, really. But when, and it still might, who knows, but when it had this sort of like push, it had a slam, and you can see the increase in volume down here. It made me think that, you know, get the rest, flatten my position, this, you know, the top might be in. So I sold it all and made $440 in profit. So I made back my loss of 170, and now I'm 440 in profit, which I'm really, really pleased about. This is possibly, you know, take away the chase, but the second trade I took on it was probably one of the best trades I've taken all year. I mean, I've made more money on trades, and I just feel as though I just traded this really well. I did exactly what I was supposed to do. I stuck to my plan. The risk reward was great. I didn't, and the patience was great. I got in at like, let's say 20 past 10, and then my sales were like, 1 o'clock. So what's that? That's 2.5 hours. That's quite a long time for me. that's like super long patience for me. So yeah, I probably I'm being a bit sort of over the top by saying this is one of the best trades I've had all year, but what I did do is execute my plan really well, so I'm happy with that. Cool. So just to put myself back in my place, let's have a look at the awful trading I did on Friday. UPXI. Cool. Right, this is the first one that I traded about. Actually, let's not do that one first. Let's do ARBB. I might even have I've still got my lines on it. Now look, this had this sort of big, let's have a look at the daily chart first. Where are we going? What are you doing? Right, daily chart. So beat down, bottom bouncer. That's what this is. Capable, you can see from its daily moves, capable of doing some pretty funky things. So I'm not going to lie, when this kind of sort of had this big spike and fade, I kind of wasn't really paying attention to it, to be honest with you. I should have, because it's this price range of stock that has been moving in recent weeks. So I should have, but I didn't. And it did offer a great entry here or here. Okay, so it's beat down massively off its highs. and then it has a little morning spike, and then it breaks this lower day, but only just, and then comes back and reclaims it. So this would have been a great entry, risking this low or this low if you wanted a wider risk. But I missed all that, and then sort of missed all of this move, and then kind of was just watching and waiting and seeing if it offered an entry. So, and it did, and my entry was good. So this, look at this retracement, look at this perfect trend line that it's keeping. Okay, now what I was looking for at this point, I could see, there's a possibility it's going to break trend. And so when it broke trend, I got in at like 56.4, I think I got in. Okay, now what I needed to be doing was risking off this low here. However, I sold into like 59 or something like that. I made about $80 and then had to miss this whole move. And that, let's say 77 to, if I could have actually, and it offered a perfect entry here, 55. What's that? 77 minus 55. That's a 40% move that I missed out on, and I made like $80. And again, the reason that I was doing that was I was just scared trading. I didn't want to lose anymore. I didn't want to risk it hitting this, my low, my stop level, and there being some slippage. I just didn't want to risk it. Not even $50, because then I would have been down $350. So $300 on the day. So I'm completely sort of focusing on profits and not process, and that's what's cost me in this instance. But again, I hope you can see that there is a great thesis, and the entry is good as well. And even like this is a good entry in my opinion, like recognizing the trend, and that it has the possibility of bouncing. But similarly, you could have even been more patient if you wanted to get right on your risk here, and like I say, it offered a 40% bounce from that. So pleased that I sort of identified the correct entry point. Obviously the emotional slash psychological side needs work. So I made about $80 on that. I was currently down 250, then made about 80 on this, and then UPXI. So this, should we do that one? No, let's do this one, TN. So this was also one that I traded. Let's start with the daily chart. It was a SPAC. Okay, beaten down SPAC. Okay, and I traded it on this day here. So not much there to go off on the daily chart. Obviously it had this big bounce here, so it is capable of doing some funky things. So this is a Hong Kong stock, and I missed this whole move, okay? And at this point, and then it fails the significant level of 1, which is here. Okay, so it's trying to hold it here, and then it breaks below it. This is a Hong Kong stock, which I kind of was just expecting this to fade off. I just thought it'd just be a one and done sort of spiker. But why this came back on my radar was, once it had this breakdown, it tries to hold this level here. First tries to hold here, then tries to hold this level here. It breaks that, then it reclaims this breakout level here, and that's why it got interesting to me. So when it has this push back over this level and reclaims, and this is a low float by the way, and you can see it's capable of like quick moves. I got in at 92.5. Okay, so really great entry, just risking 90, like really tight risk. I'm not going to risk as wide as that, and I know sort of that's not really my thesis in this point. I know it's perhaps I risk getting shaken out, but my thesis is that it's a trend reversal. It's having this breakdown, it couldn't, and it claims this high here. So that's why I'm risking off that level. Okay, so great entry, and as soon as this started to move, I'm thinking, I want my money back that I've lost, or I'm all out by 105. Absolutely shocking. Missed the whole move up to like 137. So that was sort of, what's that, almost, that's a 50% move. It's a 50% move in like 5 minutes, and I missed the vast majority of that. Okay, so again, the thesis is correct. The entry is brilliant. But the emotional side of it and the focusing on the process over the profits is lacking. So that's that one. And finally, we have UPXI. these are all so different, aren't they? They're all day one moves, but I've traded them quite differently. This is sort of a day two, but it had this day one spike and then finished red. If we start on the daily chart, it kind of has this day one, random day one spike and then finishes red. So is it continued? I wouldn't say it's a continuation. I'd take this as a separate move. Very, very difficult to catch that. I'd be really surprised if anybody who isn't an insider had shares down here, to be honest with you. Missed all of that move. Did offer something nice here. You could have potentially played this as a wedge, like that. This nice descending volume there, which is essential for wedge. You could have played that, bought it here, offered a nice 100% move from that. And you can see the reason why, had I sort of, I guess, one, been watching this, and two, I think it did pop up, I wasn't taking it seriously. But if I'd properly looked at this, yeah, it is capable of making moves, but also you can see here that the volume, it sets up perfectly in terms of a wedge and the descending volume, but equally the volume here, it's more volume here than it did all day yesterday. So, these kind of levels, it can blow right through them. So this, like I say, would have offered a nice entry. I missed all of that. And then I sort of began to take notice of this. It had this morning spike, right? And then it kind of has a fail. And now what I'm expecting is it to fail all day, really, after it's had a failed sort of morning spike. Even more importantly, I would say, is that it broke 10. Now, when it broke 10, I thought, okay, if it holds 10, okay, that nice round number of 10, the big psychological number, it's an important number. If it holds 10, I'm thinking, yeah, okay, cool, this can have another leg up. This might not be done. But it broke 10. But then, as it broke 10, I'm thinking, okay, that's just going to fade all day. But what it does, it reclaims. And that, to me, says this is not yet done. So I bought it right on 10, and I just sold it up here for 10.60. It made another 80 bucks or something like that. I don't know. I ended up 50 bucks off on the day randomly, which I don't know how. Well, I should have ended up probably a few hundred, if not 1,000 up, given my entries. But so yeah, I bought it at 10, really poor trading, and then sold it at 10.60. My thesis was correct. Now, what it did offer an even better entry. You could have this here wouldn't have been a correct entry for me because it's just broke 10. You don't know it's going to reclaim. I don't mind that I bought it when it reclaimed here, but I should have been risking off this low. Given that I sold here, I should have kept it on my watch and rebought it when it held this level here, or rebought it here thinking it might hold this level here, because it's really, really good risk reward. I didn't do that, and then I saw it again. It failed. It just broke 10, and then failed to break 10, and then reclaimed. And so I was thinking, this is really there is a trade here, but I didn't take it. And you can see this push up to 13. So from 10 to 13, nice 30% move there. If we'd got in here, it's like a 40% move. So there was, it doesn't really look like it has range on this chart, but it does. And like I said, I had a correct thesis on this, but didn't trade this one as my risk reward wasn't as tight on this one as it was on the others. So I can understand why I was selling a bit prematurely, but it did give me another bite at the cherry here and here, which I didn't take. But nevertheless, I did finish the day $50 up, and I say the thing I'm probably proud about, because I recognised here that I lacked patience, that I was selling too soon. I really did recognise that, and so today MNPR, traded this, and this is like super patient for me. So I'm pretty pleased that I've managed to implement that, and I hope I continue to do so moving forward. Cool. Thank you. Thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next video. Cheers, guys.